to you from Orion Township, this is Oakland Leadership, and I'm Penny Shults. Thank you for joining us today as we meet with Orion Township Fire Chief Bob Smith and Fire Prevention Lieutenant Chris Hagan. Chief Smith has proudly served as your fire chief for 4 years. Chief Smith has dedicated his life to fire prevention and safety, and he is diligent in his efforts to ensure that property owners are prepared in the event of a fire emergency. Chris Hagan works with residents, local schools, and business owners, and is often the first contact the public sees when they are dealing with fire prevention and safety. The mission of the fire department is to preserve and protect people and property through fire prevention and rescue services, and these men bring a wealth of experience that benefits everyone in our community. Gentlemen, I'm so glad that both of you are here today.
Well, thank you for inviting us, Penny.
And when I asked you about 2 weeks ago, you were quick to say, let's bring Chris in too.
Yes, because actually the way we have the department set up now, that any public relations or fire prevention, the public is, he's the first one they see, either him or somebody that he's lined up, but mostly it's been Chris, and he's been a great asset to the department since we brought him on to do this.
And how long have you been with the department, Chris?
So I started as a paid-on-call member in 2007, and then worked my way through the fire department, became more active, and then a position opened in 2013 that I applied for, and lucky enough, Chief Smith and Supervisor Barnett hired me to handle fire prevention and public outreach.
And so what does some of the public outreach look like in the community?
We do a whole lot. As you know, our school system is one of the biggest in the area, so we're heavily involved in getting the fire prevention message and safety out to all elementary schools and all kids groups, Cub Scout tours, Girl Scouts, and we extend our reach even beyond that to anyone that is just interested in fire prevention and fire safety, and if they have a question, they can always contact us, and we kind of just don't limit it, and that's been the greatest point. And Chief Smith has been very instrumental in identifying the importance of public outreach and fire prevention, and he's really partnered me up with another firefighter, Anthony Geraci, and we are able to really go forth with the message, and we've had no limits, and it's been wonderful.
And I'm amazed how many places I actually see you during the week as well as on the weekends.
Yeah, with us working 24-hour shifts, some of those days fall on weekends, and with people working a 9-to-5 job, a lot of their free time happens on the weekends. So by allowing us to be on shift and do this, we can do all the public outreach at any times of the day, even on the weekends. So it really makes it easy and nice.
That's excellent. Now, Chief, you have seen this department grow as you've been with the fire department since the late 80s?
I started paid on call in 1986.
Okay.
And we had the only full-time person we had at that time was Chief Key, and he saw the need at that time to start expanding. In 1991, he opened up the position of for a fire inspector full-time, and I applied, and I was basically the second full-time employee that the department saw. And then from there, we have just continually grown. And since I've taken over, I think we've grown a lot faster, and sometimes it's overwhelming because I'm trying to move at a fast pace and everything to meet the demands of the public, whether it is fire prevention or actual emergency runs that we go on and everything. And I was really fortunate. The people that I was able to promote from within, so far we have not went outside to hire any of our full-time people. Have been able to promote from within. And with Chris, I got to commend him because we were really swamped. I had a lot of things on my plate at that time when we hired him, and I wanted him to do the fire prevention thing and stuff, and unfortunately I couldn't go around with him and help him. I couldn't give him any instruction or anything, so I just basically, it was kind of like handing him the books and said, go read up on them and do it. And he hit the road running, and it's just been a real great pleasure to have him on there because because it's gotten to the point now that we don't go anywhere within this township that somebody doesn't know what the fire department's doing, and the credit goes to his crew,
Yes.
Anthony Dracy, him, and some of the other people that are always volunteering to help out.
And you find unique ways, Chris, to reach the people. You have a pizza program, I heard, that helps people to ensure that they've got their smoke detectors up and running. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we're definitely not taking the credit for inventing it.
Okay.
I saw it, that Southfield Fire Department did it, and they sent around an inspector in a fire department SUV and went around and did the same thing. We liked that idea, but we wanted to take it a step further. There's definitely an awe factor when you see a fire truck pull up, no lights and sirens, but when you see it pull up and you see it in front of your driveway or your neighbors see it. So that really sparks conversation. And so we have a great working relationship with Jet's Pizza on the Pier Road.
Okay.
And Larry, as you know, Larry Bloss has been instrumental in this partnership. He just recognizes the opportunity to partner with us. And so it's extremely simple. We do all the legwork. All you have to do is order pizza. So you order pizza for delivery, and we pick addresses at random. We drive in the fire truck. We take Jet's Pizza members with us, and they handle all cash transactions. But when we go there, we ask if we can do a fire alarm inspection. And if they're working and are less than 10 years old, then their order is free, no questions asked, no matter what they order. So it could be some chicken wings, or it could be a party platter.
Sure.
And it's all free. And then if they aren't working, then they still have to pay, but we retrofit and update all smoke alarms in their house
While you're there.
while we're there.
Incredible.
Yeah, so we bring all the tools, the smoke alarms, the drills, everything, and then at that point you're able to educate citizens that you may not normally be able to if they don't call 911.
That's an amazing service to the community.
It's very fun to do.
I like that. Why is it important to update your smoke detector at least every 10 years?
They all have a shelf life, and that shelf life is 10 years. And within those smoke alarms, those sensors can get corroded, they can get covered up with dust, and they're just not as proper functioning as they should be.
Okay.
And so that's why they tell you to update them every 10 years. And Kidda, which is a huge brand in the industry, makes 10-year smoke alarms. So there's no replacement of batteries, and it saves you money in the long run. They're going to be a little bit more expensive up front, but you don't have to worry about changing your batteries when you change your clocks.
I like that. That's a good plan, because a lot of people may not have the battery for a while and just pull it loose.
Yeah, and what that does is it eliminates nuisance alarms. When that smoke alarm chirps at 2 in the morning, no one wants to go buy a 9-volt battery. They just want to pull the alarm down and go back to bed. Well, we definitely do not encourage that kind of effort, because a fire can happen at any time. So those 10-year smoke alarms just eliminate all that, and it makes it so much easier in the future. And they have a bunch of different brands or models where if you have one in the hallway and it goes off, an LED light will shine down in the hallway if it's dark out.
That's good. That's very important for people to be able to get out of a burning home safely. And
absolutely.
we need that light.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. Now, Chief, you were a fire marshal prior to being our fire chief.
That's
Can
correct.
you tell us a little bit about that role and how that prepared you to be the fire chief?
Well, for one thing, being a fire marshal, I was able to go into all the commercial buildings in Orion Township. I was able to do the planning and inspections on to make sure that the public is safe going into that commercial facility, along with the people that actually work there and everything. But some of the things that I learned, the insides of the buildings. I learned if we had some buildings that do have hazardous chemicals and stuff like that, knew where all that was. And actually, 4 years ago, I felt real confident walking into just about any building in the township and knowing it, because I'd been through it so many times through inspections and stuff like that. And actually, I feel a little rusty now because we have a new fire marshal, Jeffrey Williams, and he's doing it along with 2 other inspectors, Anton Ross and Dave Ostertag, are 3 inspectors now. And so they're in there all the time. And I actually, sometimes I go into these newer buildings if we're called out for a reason, and I feel a lost, like some of the firefighters who actually, during a fire, they don't have any idea what's in there unless they've been in there before, so they have to feel their way around in order to figure out where to go in there and everything. So I kind of feel like that now, even after just 4 years. You know, you forget what's in there, but that's what I felt I brought to the table when I become chief. Is I knew a lot of the area. I knew the roads real well and stuff like that, and I knew what needed to be protected at any cost and stuff like that. So.
And you formed relationships with other municipalities. Can you talk about some of the mutual aid plans that are in place?
Okay. Actually, within 3 months after I became chief, I went to the board and asked their permission, and we signed an agreement with all of Oakland County. Actually, the north end, there's 23 departments involved, and it's called MABUS, or stands for Mutual Aid Box Association System. And now I'm able to call in just about anybody in the county if I need help for anything that's something that it's beyond our scope that we can handle or something like that. And, you know, and we all train together. Last year we put on an exercise at the GM plant, thanking the GM people for allowing us to do this on a Sunday. We actually mustered 14 departments there. Working together, and that was a great learning tool for us. We all come together, and it was very good that we could work together and stuff like that. So that's relationships that I started as soon as I took over, and it's just grown and grown since then. And I've gotten very involved with mutual aid collaboration and that. So I want to make sure, not that I care so much about sitting around in meetings to be noticed or anything, but I feel confident that
Yes.
if something happens large in this community, that I can call on our neighbors and they're going to come and help us, and we'll be as safe as we can that way.
And we know that about you, and we're very thankful as a board of trustees that you have that experience and the ability to bring the groups together.
Well, I would be kidding no one. I'd be kidding everybody, and myself included, if I thought that we could handle everything here.
Mm-hmm.
We've got a top-notch fire department. We've got top-notch people, but there's going to be times when things. For example, again, that's why we practice at the GM plant.
Yes.
That's 3 million square feet on the ground. One department's not going to be able to handle that, and to go back in history a little bit, my first major fire was in 1953 as a 4-year-old. I watched the Livonia transmission plant burn to the ground.
Wow.
The whole plant went right down to the ground, and that has stuck with me all my life. And so, and back then they didn't have the agreements they had now, and they didn't have the amount of equipment we have now, and those people couldn't handle it. So
That left quite an impression on you.
it did. In fact, when we were at GM plant one day, I was telling the guys about it. I don't care if, you know, it can happen. Don't say it can't happen, you know, because I actually witnessed it. And one of the security guards there, the guy that's in head of security, he says, "You know, we still use that as a training tool." He says, "You were actually there?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm that old."
Well, speaking of old, there was a recreation picture that was recently shot with the whole fire department. And I know that, Chief, you supported that, and Chris, you helped spearhead that. Can you share with us how that took place?
It kind of took place on how all sort of random things happen. You kind of just stumble upon something and you kind of get excited about it. And that's really how the photo took off. Upstairs at the old Station 2 building, there was a mass amount of photos. And I'm a big history buff, and I love saving all the kind of history. And we stumbled across this photo, and it was a really cool department photo, and there were several of them. And it got me thinking, I don't think we've ever done this since. You know, there was no photo that existed. Now, back in that time, it was in the 40s, and there was 2 separate fire departments, Lake Orion Fire Department and Gingellville Fire Department. And so they didn't really cross paths other than on a fire. So it was kind of the 2 departments could do what they wanted. Now that we've come so far and we're all a team now, I really wanted to capture this moment in the same building before that the archways went away or that building really kind of transformed. And so I talked with the chief, who's very supportive of it, and we gathered, I would say 90% of all the firefighters down at Station 1. And I think Bob's blood pressure just now came down
Yes.
because he had all of his guys in one place. He didn't want to dedicate all his resources from one station. But we quickly lined everything up, got the trucks in place, and made the photo as close as we could to then. I think the original photo had maybe 14, 15 people in it. We had nearly 50. So it was much wider than the first one, but it was very, very cool.
And it looks very much like the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way you have this fire truck in there.
Trucks are a little bit bigger.
Taking it from the perspective of the elevation that you did. It was excellent to see that, and I know that we're sharing that with our viewers as well.
Wonderful, wonderful, and you know, the more departments that we get on, or the more firefighters we get on this department, you know, we've had a helmet change. You know, we sport a new helmet that's a little bit more traditional style.
Okay.
And I think we're going to try to do that again, maybe with the new ladder truck or something that we can really get behind and really have a great photo.
Supposing someone's watching this today and they have run across some photos in the past that they want to share with the fire department, how can they reach you, Chris?
It's very easy. We have a very active social media accounts, one being Facebook. So if you search Orion Township Fire Department, you can get a hold of us that way. You can send us a message. You can email myself, chagan@oriontownship.org. But probably the easiest way would be to call the administration offices at 248-391-0304 and extension 143, and our administrator Sherry will be able to direct any question that they may possibly have.
Sounds good. And we can scan those pictures and give them right back to them.
Absolutely.
We'd like to preserve that part of history.
Absolutely. We don't want to take anybody's property, especially if they're family members or it means a lot to them or the community. But we just ask that maybe we could take them, scan them, give them right back, so we have a copy as well, but they can hold on to the original.
Okay. I hope people do that. I encourage you to do that. Now, Chief, you have upgraded some equipment, and there's a major upgrade coming with your ladder truck. Can you tell us about that and why it's necessary to do so?
Well, again, we've talked about history here in some aspects of the conversation today. We presently own a 1974 aerial truck, because it's older than most of my young firefighters anymore, and it still does the job, but it's not reliable and it doesn't have the safety features and that. And one of my goals after taking over was I wanted to replace that as soon as possible, because again, this community is growing. We're getting a lot more commercial building going on here, but also it's a great safety feature for residential homes. If I have to put somebody up on the roof for some reason, I'm sure people see the news every night. Firefighters, you know, they put their lives on the line all the time. And going up on a roof, climbing up from a ground ladder and then walking up on a roof, we see it. We get the firefighter news bulletins and stuff like that. We see it's almost a daily occurrence where firefighters are going through roofs and stuff like that. And I in good conscience, I don't want to be putting my people up there unless it's a life safety issue. So this ladder truck that we're getting is going to be able to get them to the roof. They'll be able to do what they have to do and be able to do it safely. With the fact that we're not always going to be able to do it, because this is a rather large piece of equipment, and you know, it's hard to maneuver in that. But Sunday afternoon, this coming Sunday afternoon, 3 of us are flying to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, to do the final inspection on this vehicle, and they're going to be driving it to us, delivering it the first week in January. So, and I think I can speak for everybody that we're all pretty excited about this thing, and we got a few surprises with it. We believe in our community. We believe in what goes on around here. We're very big in supporting the community. And we've got the truck kind of decked out with some Lake Orion Dragon stuff on it and everything, the theme of the Lake Orion Dragon. So
that's fun.
Yeah. And
you had full support of the Township Board and full support of the community, because this was paid for with a millage.
Correct. Yes, we asked the community to give us 0.6 mils for 5 years to upgrade some of our equipment that's becoming obsolete, but that was the big ticket item that we wanted to get taken care of, and so.
And I'm glad that you've honored that, and it's almost here. So pretty excited about that.
And just so the people know, we originally looked at $1.1 million to purchase a brand new one, and I did a lot of research, and the others and the command staff, we did a lot of research, and we actually found a demonstration unit that was actually still on the line being built when we first started talking about it. So we saved almost $250,000 by doing that.
That's remarkable and very responsible.
So.
Thank you, Chief. Now recently, Chris, you trained the entire Board of Trustees in CPR and AED training. That was a kind of a unique situation, and we were pretty thrilled as a board to see you in action, along with the other, there would have been Kyle Hagan and Chris Legero.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about that, because people can take this training if they contact you, and what can they expect?
They can expect to get probably a little bit more of a workout than what they were expecting. You know, CPR, especially the compressions part, can be quite labor intensive, as you're aware now.
Yes.
After going through it, but we recognize this as an opportunity to reach out to our board members and our elected officials, and just kind of strengthen our working relationship, kind of as we've done in the past. I don't know of any city council, board, village, anything that is all CPR certified, and so we kind of wanted to start at the top and work our way down. And luckily, everybody that we reached out to was more than willing, yourself included, to go through this training. And myself, I'm a CPR instructor, as my brother is, and Chris Legero, our EMS coordinator. So I partnered with Chris, and we made sure we got everything together, got a location, and then we were able to bring my brother in, and who knows the board members as well, and has a very good working relationship with them. And so it really allowed us to partner up and give this life-saving skill.
It was so thorough. You trained us on, human, not human, but simulated to look like a human and feel like a human, but also on children and infants.
Yeah, so there's a video that you correlate with and play to help give the student a little bit more of a visual on what is being asked of them and taught to them. But we really make it a point to pause the video, go through instruction, and we like to add a little bit of excitement and kind of comedy to it. If you just treat it as it is, it can be very dry very dry material. But that's why myself and my brother and all the other CPR instructors, Anthony Geraci, Eric Florence, Chris Legero, we all have the very same sense of humor, and we're able to, in my opinion, really identify it with kind of a wide range of audiences. So it's made our classes get very high reviews and enjoyable at the same time. But most importantly, they're walking away with a life-saving skill.
Yes.
And we teach choking in infants and children. We teach CPR and AED training for an infant, a child, and an adult. And it's a class that takes about 4 hours, but it's probably the best 4 hours best 4-hour class that you'll ever have.
We were nearing the 4-hour mark in our training, and it was remarkable to see the fire department in action completely in a split second, out the door to help an infant who had fallen. And you guys left so quickly. We were at the point where we were done with the training, ready to sign the certificates, and the tones went off. And you and Kyle and Chris, immediately, you went from instructor to fireman and to life-saving first responders. And I was really grateful to see that transition.
That's such an important part of this job that I want people to understand is these emergencies can take place no matter what. And so to hear, everything good?
Yep, we're good.
All right. And so to hear, man, it's throwing me off.
Sorry, the tones.
Yeah.
Yes.
So when the tones went off, this can happen at any point, and so you could be eating dinner, you can be at the station, you can be in the bathroom changing from your work clothes to your uniform, and this happens.
Yes.
And it's not like a normal job where at the end of the day you punch out at 5 o'clock and you go home and you don't have to return to work until 7. This job is 24/7,
Always on.
all the time, and you always have to be on. So that's why we had to switch modes so quickly.
I was
And
very proud of you all that
we're lucky
night.
to report the child is doing fine.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that.
Good.
And I don't doubt that because you were so fast. You completely, each one of you were prepared to do your jobs, your responsibilities. It was good to see.
Right.
Well, we're about at the end of the program, as they've indicated here for us. Are there some closing comments, Chief, that you would like to make?
Real quickly, winter's coming on. I want to encourage everybody to make sure that you practice good fire safety, especially with the holidays coming on. Make sure that the lights are good that you're putting on your Christmas trees. Make sure if you're using a real tree that it's taken care of. Candles, that's a big thing around the holidays. Don't leave the room with a candle on.
Okay.
Believe me, people think that they're just going to run to the kitchen to grab a pop or something and come back, and the phone rings or something, they get distracted. Things like that. Heaters, make sure that there's nothing around a heater if you're using a heater in your house. Fireplaces, if they haven't been inspected, make sure that they get inspected. That's just a few of the things. We could do a whole show on fire safety itself, so just to throw a few things out to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
I'm glad to have you both in the studio today.
And thank you very much for asking us.
I hope you've enjoyed this edition of Oakland Leadership. To find out more about the Orion Township Fire Department, please visit oriontownship.org. I'm Penny Shults from Orion Neighborhood Television. Thank you and goodbye.